Hello, welcome to Inside the Summit League. Got lots of basketball stuff coming up in a little bit. But first, the NCAA Volleyball Championships start this week, and Summit League tournament champion Denver will play late Friday night in a first-round matchup against Stanford. It's a 9 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone. Stanford is the number 6 overall seed in the 64-team tournament. Stanford 21-7 on the season, finished in a tie for second this year in the Pac-12 Conference. And Denver, meanwhile, the Summit League champion for the third year in a row after using some dominating defense to knock off South Dakota in the Summit League Tournament Championship. Denver and South Dakota shared the regular season championship this year, and it comes down to those two in the Summit League Tournament Championship. Denver, the host team again this year, South Dakota playing in its first tournament championship. And the Pioneers out to a quick start. They lead 8-1 in the first set on a kill by Caleb Principato. Denver with just one attack error in the first set. They hit 393. And Denver getting up, blocking about everything from the Coyotes. USD hits 0 in the first set, and Denver wins the first one 25-12. More of the same in set 2. Denver out to a 10-5 lead. And South Dakota again having trouble at the net, 13 attack errors. Denver again up to block just about everything. And the Pioneers with 13.5 team blocks just in the first 2 sets. 25-14 Denver in set 2, and the Pioneers go up 2-0. Coyotes come back in set 3. USD out to an early 7-1 lead on back-to-back kills by Haley Dotseth. Denver rallies to tie the set at 22, but South Dakota with the last 3 points. A kill by Audrey Rieg, and then a service ace from Brittany Jessen for the final point. And South Dakota stays alive with a 25-22 win in set 3. But Denver will close it out in the fourth. 3 quick kills by Principato. Denver out again to a 6-1 lead early. South Dakota keeps it close at 19-15, but Nola Basie and Ruth Okoye and Principato with kills down the stretch. Denver wins in 4 sets. The Pioneers are the Summit League tournament champions for the third year in a row. Cassidy Rook, 27 digs for Denver. Ruth Okoye repeats as the tournament MVP. South Dakota finishes with 25 wins. That's their most ever as a Summit League school. And Denver is on to the NCAA tournament and will play at Stanford on Friday night. All right, meanwhile, the Denver men's soccer team is still alive and kicking in the NCAA tournament. The Pioneers have advanced to the quarterfinal round. Just 16 teams are left, and they will play Clemson on Friday night in South Carolina. That's a 5 o'clock Mountain Time start. Denver played its first 2 matches at home in this tournament and got wins over UNLV and the University of Washington. Summit League tournament champion Denver earned the number 6 seed in the national tournament, and that got the Pioneers a first-round bye, and it gets them a second-round matchup at home against UNLV. And there were 4 yellow cards on UNLV just in the first half. Not even a foul, though, on this tumble as Chandler Crossway goes crashing into the snowbank just to play on. But the Pioneer defense, stellar as it has been all season. The Runnin' Rebels limited to just 2 shots on goal by the Denver defense. Denver outshoots the Rebels 9-2 in the first half, but they go to the break scoreless. Denver, though, breaks it open in the 56th minute. Corner kick by Karsten Hanlon, and Scott DeVos all over it for Denver. Pioneers go up 1-0. Not long after that, Alex Underwood left alone and rifles that past the Rebel keeper. 2-0 Denver with 20 minutes to play. And then just for fun, Underwood on a free kick, Courtney Ford with a vicious header for the goal, and the Pioneers beat UNLV 3-0. It is the first NCAA tournament win for Denver since 1970. And they don't stop there. Denver beats Washington in the second round. Goals by Crossway and Andre Shinyashiki, and that victory sends Denver into the national quarterfinals. Denver is 19-3 on the season. They are the only unbeaten team left in the country. When we come back, basketball and how a transfer from Purdue might put Fort Wayne's men over the top this season, and why the women at Western Illinois are off to a hot start with wins in 5 of their 6 games so far.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
And welcome back. Joined now by our Summit League college basketball analyst, Brad Newitt. And Newitt, last year, it was Western Illinois going to Wisconsin, beating the Badgers in that first game of the year. This year, it is Fort Wayne playing at home and knocking off Indiana, the number 3 team in the country. How about this win for Fort Wayne?
What a win for Fort Wayne. And doing it on their home floor was extra special because even though they were playing on their home floor, pro-Indiana crowd at the game, so it was almost like a de facto road game for Fort Wayne. But I mean, they played at a very high level, a lot of energy, a close game. Obviously, went to overtime. They had to make some big plays down the stretch to win it, and huge win for the Summit League, too. Will help big time in the RPI.
71-68 in overtime. Fort Wayne led for almost 40 minutes in the game. They only shot 7 free throws in this game, only had 8 turnovers though, but had 7 block shots against that big Indiana front line, 4 of those by Brent Calhoun. They didn't play perfect, but they just kept hanging in there and led, as I said, most of the game and got it done. It was incredible.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is they played great defensively. They held Indiana at around 40% shooting, forced 15 turnovers against the Hoosiers as well, and that led to some easy points then for Fort Wayne in transition. Those were key baskets for them, getting out and running and not having to go against Indiana's set defense. And then I thought just the hustle plays. I thought Fort Wayne was the team that really wanted it more. They were a little more hungry. A lot of those 50-50 balls seemed to go Fort Wayne's way, and in the end, they were able to get over the hump.
John Conchar was an animal, played all 45 minutes, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists for Conchar. And then Bryson Scott is Fort Wayne's transfer from Purdue playing this year. He was great, played 41 minutes, 18 points, and 12 rebounds. And with Max Landis and that scoring gone from last year, this is great news, Bryson Scott, for Fort Wayne.
Yeah, well, Fort Wayne right now, they have 3 players that are playing at a high level. You mentioned Scott and Conchar. Mo Evans also doing a great job, averaging about 19 a game. And so you got those 3 and really seem like they're playing well together too. And I think a big help for Bryson Scott that he was there last year practicing with this team as a transfer.
All right, Fort Wayne plays at Notre Dame coming up early next week. That could be good. And Fort Wayne, number 7 this week in the mid-major top 25. North Dakota State is the other Summit League team in that top 25 at number 22. NDSU, 5-2 now going into their game Tuesday at number 7, Xavier. And the Bison, though, first 5 for them, they're starters. A lot of experience, a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah, and they seem to they're a little bit ahead of a lot of the other teams just because they have that group of guys that have played together already, and you can tell some cohesion on the floor. And NDSU's always been so good at taking care of the basketball and good defensively, and that's kind of what's carrying them right now. They're holding teams below 40% shooting. And then offensively, they're just a team, I think, that needs a few more things maybe to click for them to be really, really good. In their last loss at Missouri State, they really struggled to shoot the basketball. I think A.J. Jacobson has had good shooting nights. He needs to stay consistent in that. Dexter Warner, another kid that I think if they could get a little more production out of him around the basket will also help them too.
All right, NDSU going to be tough, especially at home this year in their new arena in Fargo. The other team playing really well in the early season is South Dakota. The Coyotes 6-2 going into their game at Kansas City on Wednesday night. 4 new guys in the starting lineup for the Coyotes, including Matt Mooney, a transfer from Air Force, who is second on the team in scoring right now at about 13 points a game.
Well, Mooney's giving him great production and very consistent production. Trey Birch Manning also doing that. He's a junior college transfer for Craig Smith. And then Trey Dickerson, their starting point guard, was at Iowa before. So he's got 3 new faces in his starting lineup, just Craig Smith, but they're all playing at a really great level. And then Tyler Flack is having a great senior year as well. So 4 guys scoring double figures for this South Dakota team. But Tom, to me, the reason why they are improved from where they were last year is what they're doing defensively. They're holding teams to about 40% shooting. This was something that South Dakota really struggled with last year, was defending on a consistent level and rebounding the basketball with that too, and they're doing a much better job this year.
And Coach Smith, as you mentioned, his 3rd year now, and it's just time to everything to kind of come together for the Coyotes with Coach Smith?
I think so. I think this is a really big season for them. They seem like they're heading in the right direction here early on. They've been able to get some nice wins at home, some nice wins on neutral floors. Now I think a question, can they go on the road at Kansas City and win a true road game?
All right, those are the teams that are off to hot starts. When we come back, a look at some of the others that are struggling a little bit to get out of the gate and why, coming up next. Welcome back to men's basketball now. Fort Wayne and South Dakota, North Dakota State, all off to great starts. Brad Newitt. Everybody else is under the 500 mark so far this season, and maybe the biggest surprise, I think, around the league is the slow start for the Jackrabbits at South Dakota State. What's going on there?
Well, this is a team that has struggled offensively, first of all, shooting the basketball, and a new coach in TJ Otzelberger, a lot of new players, and even players that are back in the system, Tom, that have new roles. And so this team has struggled kind of meshing all the pieces together, especially, like I said, on the offensive end where they've been shooting below 40% for most of their games. Turnovers also been a big issue for this team, which has then led to a lot of easy baskets for their opponents. So that's part of it. I also think the schedule, quite frankly, it's been very tough for South Dakota State. They played 4 true road games, just got done playing 3 neutral site games, but all against very, very good teams that were picked high in their conferences as well. And so you kind of throw all that together, and yeah, the team that was picked second preseason off to a very rocky start.
And they still have to play at Northern Iowa and at Wichita State before they get to the Summit League season. SDSU has the 3rd longest home win streak in the nation at 30 in a row, and that could be in some jeopardy if the Jacks don't get it going.
It could, and you know, if there's a year where you may see that snap, this might be the year with a new coach and a lot of new guys playing different places, but you know, they've got some nice home games in December. They've got Kansas City coming in. They got Idaho, a really intriguing game to me, Murray State coming to visit Frost Arena. If they can get through those 3, then maybe this team starts building a little more confidence.
All right, elsewhere, Omaha has one of the best all-around players in the country. Tradeon Hollins is back at it this year. He's averaging 7 assists and 3 steals per game right now. He is just fun to watch.
He is. I mean, he's a great player that affects the game on both ends of the floor. We know what he can do defensively, getting his hands on loose balls, but then turning that into points for Omaha. And the Mavs at 2 and 4, they've had some struggles. Again, not offensively. We know this is a team that can score, and they do that around 82 points a game, so they're great offensively. But in their losses, Tom, the 4 losses, they have given up 89 points per game by average, and they've got to get that part corrected or it's going to be a long year in Omaha.
And they've lost at USC and at Kansas State and at Eastern Michigan, 3 pretty good teams there. So hard to tell, but with you got Hollins, you got Trayshawn Thurman, you got Marcus Tyus. Could they be a contender once we get into the Summit League season?
I think the Summit League still is looking like it's very wide open. I mean, Fort Wayne obviously looks like a team on paper that's playing at a very high level right now and has a lot of great pieces in place. But outside of them, I think there's a lot of things to really still get sorted out. And we saw Omaha last year do just that. They had a non-conference that wasn't sparkling, but once they got into Summit League play, they were a very tough team to beat.
And Omaha plays at Iowa on Saturday and then at Iowa State coming up on Monday. A couple quick hits here on everybody else. Denver, new head coach there in Rodney Billups. Denver's 2 and 3 so far this season. They play at Wyoming on Wednesday night. What about Denver?
Well, they're playing real well offensively. In fact, they lead the Summit League right now in shooting percentage at 49%. So Rodney Billups has got them playing at a great level there. Again, though, I think this team's still searching for an identity defensively. This is a team that played a lot of zone last year, playing more man-to-man this year. I think that's going to take some time.
Kind of sounds like IUPUI a little bit as well. What about the Jags? They play at home against Chicago State on Wednesday night. How about IUPUI and some of the new guys there?
They've been a little bit inconsistent. To me, that surprised me a little bit. I expect this team maybe to be a little bit more polished in the preseason here, but they've had some ups and downs. Struggling a little bit on their end to score the basketball, and I think if they get that part figured out, they will be a very dangerous team because this is a team that I know will defend at a high level.
All right, Western Illinois plays at home, I should say, against Chicago State on Wednesday night. Garrett Covington leading the league in scoring right now at just over 21 points a game. A guy we know can score. What else do they have to go with him?
Well, that's always been the question with Western Illinois, and right now that's the thing that has struggled with them is scoring the basketball outside of Covington. He's playing at a great level. He struggled last year with his shooting percentage, not this year. He's shooting the ball really well, but this is a team, again, that they need to get their identity back, which has in the past been defending and taking care of the basketball, and they've struggled defending so far.
All right, and lastly, Oral Roberts, 1 win so far. Their next 3 games are at Oakland, at Michigan State, and then at Oklahoma. That's going to be brutal, but what about ORU right now?
Well, they've always scheduled tough non-conference. Scott Sutton's not been afraid to do that. Again, this is a team that is still searching for an offensive identity. Albert Owens off to a good start, averaging about 15 right now, but needs some guard play to go along with that.
All right, women's basketball coming up next. How have South Dakota and Western Illinois gotten out to such great starts? Welcome back now to women's basketball, and we will get to the Summit League favorites at South Dakota State in a minute. But how about the Coyotes at South Dakota so far this season, Brad? 5-1. Their only loss was by 3 points at Arkansas, and USD lost all of that from last year, the WNIT champions, and they're out to a good start this year.
To me, the biggest surprise on the women's side in the Summit League is what USD is doing, and for head coach Dawn Plitzelwhite. And she has got this team playing at an extremely high level on the offensive end. And like you said, much I think to everyone's surprise, Allison Arns averaging over 20 a game, JC Bradley 16 a game. Between the two of them, Tom, 37 points a game right now for USD. Guess what they averaged last year? About 5 points a game. So you don't see that kind of progression hardly ever in college basketball, but those two players are having phenomenal seasons to start out with.
And one of USD's best seniors, Caitlin Duffy, has been injured, has not played yet. Her younger sister, Kara, has played well, averaging a dozen a game. Another young player that's going along with Bradley and Arns, and South Dakota out to that 5-1 start. Western Illinois is up there at 5-1 as well. A couple of tough games coming up this week for them. At Missouri on Tuesday, at Marquette on Friday. But Emily Clemens is leading the Summit League in scoring right now for Western Illinois at just under 22 points a game.
Two-time player of the week now here, Emily Clemens, and another player that is really upped her production from where she was last year at 11 points a game last year, now 22, and really doing a nice job of also just facilitating this team at the point guard position. And as a result, Western Illinois averaging 86 points a game. They are playing very well offensively.
And Emily Clemens getting help from Morgan Bloomer and Taylor Higginbottom. They are combining for 27 points and 14 rebounds a game to go with all that from Emily Clemens right now for Western Illinois. IUPUI is 4-1. They are led by Danielle Lawrence and Michael Rogers and Sydney Hall, all of those at better than 12 points a game right now. And in fact, Rogers leading the league in rebounding right now at almost 9 a game. And IUPUI, a team that traditionally has played really good defense, and they got some offense apparently this year to go with it.
That's exactly what's happening. They're continuing on with their tradition of playing great defense, forcing turnovers against other teams, but they're scoring at such a high level right now. 76 points a game, which is second best in the conference. And you mentioned those scorers, but they've got some nice supporting cast along with them. They have 6 players, Tom, that are averaging 9 points or more on this team, so some nice depth going on there too.
Always a threat. It's always tough to play IUPUI on the women's side, and they're, as you said, giving up just 61 points a game right now. The only team better than that right now is South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits are 4-1. They have a win at Iowa and then took that loss at number 13 Oklahoma. And turning the ball over too much has always been their bugaboo, but SDSU is off to a very good start as well.
And again, they're playing a very challenging schedule. Yep. They've already got a win over Creighton as well, and so South Dakota State on their side, the loss at Oklahoma hurt just because of how it happened, I think, more than anything. And like you mentioned, turn it over 22 times in that game, but they've got a starting 5 in South Dakota State. Again, all 5 of them were preseason Summit League, either first or second team, and they're all playing at a very good level. They're all averaging double figures. I think the key for this team is keeping them healthy and bringing along the depth that goes along with that.
All right, SDSU plays at Northern Iowa on Thursday and then at North Dakota next Tuesday. That should be a good ball game between a couple of good teams there. More to come in women's hoops. Omaha and Oral Roberts holding steady at the 500 mark right now, and all those youngins at North Dakota State trying to put it all together for the Bison.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn.
Welcome back, and back to finish up with women's basketball. Omaha has been intriguing. Knew it, a close loss at Nebraska, and then they had blowout wins at home against Indiana State and Wofford. And Michaela Shaw led the league in scoring last year. She leads Omaha right now at about 15 points a game, but getting some help. They've got a transfer named Michaela Daprich, who is really playing well for Omaha. I
think this is good for Omaha that they're not depending so much on Shaw to, kind of carry all the scoring load. I felt like last year she had so much of that on her shoulders that teams were kind of being able to game plan and scheme around trying to slow her down, and then that hurt Omaha as a team. But she's off to a great start. They just need to be a little bit more consistent offensively as a group.
All right, Daprich and her sister both came to Omaha together last year, both from Wichita State. So did Marissa Preston, who is coming off the bench right now for Omaha and scored about 6 points a game. They got Remy Davenport, Ellie Breck, Courtney Vacher on this team. And I don't know, I just think it could be one to watch once we get into the Summer League season.
Well, and this is a team that, really just kind of got their first taste of everything last year. Again, their first time they were eligible for the Summer League tournament. They got there, they won a game, they did well with that. And so let's see if they can build off of it. All
right, kind of the same thing for Oral Roberts as Omaha. 3-3 right now. One of those losses in double overtime at Kansas, and they have 2 really good guards, Kaylin Mayberry, Faith Iam, IM is putting in 16 points and 8 rebounds right now. So they've got those two, but we're not sure what else.
Yeah, I think that's the key is there's some supporting cast that can come around them, but Faith IM, she's having a fabulous start thing. You mentioned her scoring there. She's shooting over 50%. She's been very efficient. Oral Roberts' schedule is really, really tough. They've already had 4 road games, and they've got some tougher ones coming up, too.
Oral Roberts plays at Oklahoma this Sunday. Going to be interesting to see how that one turns out. Denver is 2-4 going into their game at Colorado State on Wednesday night. They have a sophomore guard named Samantha Romanowski. You talked about some of these players that played well last year but haven't really increased what they're doing this year. She's averaging 13 a game right now to lead Denver.
Yeah, so her scoring up about 8 a game, and so she's really done a nice job leading this team. But this is a team that still is struggling as a group offensively. But the thing that encourages me about Denver is they have improved defensively, and if they can continue that, that'll help keep them in some games.
Fort Wayne is 1-5 right now under head coach, first-year head coach Niecy Nelson. The Dons play at Kent State on Wednesday night. They're getting 12 points a game from DeJour Young right now. And then there is North Dakota State also at 1-5 going into their game at home against Western Michigan on Wednesday night. Junior Taylor Thunstedt's averaging about 15 a game. They've got senior Emily Spear at 10 points a game, but then they've got all those true freshmen. They got 5 true freshmen, 2 sophomores, still a kind of a gap between the juniors and the seniors and then those newcomers.
Yeah, this is such a young group overall at North Dakota State. I think it's going to take them some time to gel and get those players used to playing at the college level, but Thunstedt's one that can really dictate a game and can help carry this team.
All right, great to get into the season. The Summer League season, not that far away, gets started right after Christmas. Looking forward to it. Thanks to Brad Newitt. We'll see you next week.